UFC 306, aka UFC Noche, is taking place this Saturday at the Sphere, and it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime card. I am very excited for it, and I'm excited to break it down. If you want a full, more in-depth breakdown, check out my video from a couple days ago. This is going to be my quick picks and favorite bets on the entire card, so leave a like on the video. Let me know in the comments who you got in the main event, and if you have any bets already locked in. Make sure you turn those post notifications on. Click the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. And check out the live tab on my channel. Go check out the latest episode of Wager Wars. I brought Johnny K. Picks, one of my favorite in the MMA community, on, one of the best handicappers, and definitely check out his takes, and we're going to square off, see who has the best bets as we do every single week. But all that out of the way, man, let's get into this card. First fight on the card, we got Rosas Jr. taking on Richie Long, and biggest favorite on the entire card, and I do think he should be. You guys know I love when these, looking for these dogs that have a chance, especially when the lines get this crazy, because it is a cage fight at the end of the day, and I have been a little tempted just because I do think Richie Long is a pretty tough dude. Despite what happened in that last fight, he's pretty big. You got Rosas, who's only 19. So there's some red flags. There's some reasons why I would never knock anybody for taking a 7-1 dog here in this fight, or any fight really in a MMA fight, let alone in the UFC. But I really do feel like Rosas gets to his back and probably chokes him out in the first or second round. It's tough to find in my head a path to victory here for Richie Long. I guess, like I said, I can't knock anybody taking the dog shot, but I think this is one where I'm going to go ahead and just pass. I think Rosas probably gets the first round sub. If not, it's probably second round. I mean, I just think this is the UFC knows what they're doing here. So they're going to start off the Mexico card, the Noche card, with the young Mexican prospect getting the dub. We're going to move on to the next fight. Another Mexican, and Edgar Chairez taking on Joshua Van. And, man, this is a fight where if it wasn't for Joshua Van getting knocked out just a couple months ago, I'd be all over him here. Just because, don't get me wrong, I like Chairez. He's got good submission, he's very opportunistic with those submissions. Doesn't have the best wrestling. I mean, at least from what we've seen, he never shoots takedowns. But, I do think the path to victory is there. He also does hit hard, especially early. And Joshua Van just got knocked out less than 2 months ago. So, I do question why he's getting in so early, so short. He had like 5 opponents pull out, a roller coaster, and then he gets knocked out viciously, and now he's coming in and fighting a dangerous guy. So this is kind of another pass spot for me. Again, I can't hate anybody taking the dog shot because there is red flags on the Joshua Van side, but I do think stylistically, he should be able to work the body of Chairez. He should be able to keep it on the feet and just outland him. I do think this is an interesting live betting spot, so I'm going to be watching this fight very closely because Joshua Van drops the first round in every single fight, even against Charles Johnson. So, this could be a good live betting spot to go ahead and let Joshua Van start slow. You might see that minus 200 turn into a plus money, and then you can go ahead and snipe him because he does tend to heat up in the second and third. And I think someone like Chairez, we could see slow down, especially against someone like Joshua Van, especially if he starts eating body shots and getting, peppered up on the feet. So give me Joshua Van here to get the win. But so far, I do not have a bet on the fight. If I was going to play it, I might take that Chairez inside the distance. It's like plus 500. I think that's pretty interesting. But we'll move on to the next fight. We got Yasmin Jauregui taking on Ketlen Souza. This is the second biggest favorite on the card. And Yasmin, I do think she's got Ketlen covered. Again, you guys know I love finding these live dogs, especially in women's MMA. If I'm betting women's MMA, I tend to take the dog. But, in this fight, I really do feel like Ketlen's kind of up against it here, man. Good jiu-jitsu, good if she gets on top, but she doesn't have the greatest wrestling. And on the feet, I just think Yasmin's a much better striker, got much better hands, power in her hands, too. One thing I was thinking about is fight doesn't go the distance at like plus 200. Think that's pretty interesting. You got a 5-1 favorite, and, she's pretty dangerous, has a good amount of finishes. All 4 of Ketlen's losses have been, 2 by sub, 2 by knockout. I don't think Yasmin would submit her unless she like a club and sub type of situation. But I wouldn't be surprised if she were to land the shot and, get the TKO over Ketlen. So haven't played it yet, but that would be the angle I would look at if I was going to bet this. If you got on Yasmin when she was like minus 270 or something like that, I don't hate that, I guess. It's not really my style because you guys know I don't really parlay. at least very rarely. But, I can't knock anybody because I do think she's the much better fighter. And I just can't get around to a Ketlin bet. Just can't convince myself to do it. Maybe I take that under, but we'll move on to a fight I do have a bet on. We got Manel Torres taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. And this one does pain me because I bet Torres in all 3 of his fights in the UFC. And I even bet him first round or via finish in the first round in his last fight. So I've made a lot of money betting on Torres. But sometimes you got to buy low, sell high. And this is a spot where I feel like is a buy low spot on Ignacio. And I like Torres. Dude is taking his strength and conditioning very seriously. He is a freak of nature. And maybe he can knock Ignacio out in the first round. I would actually be more worried about him ripping Ignacio down because dude is freakishly strong for the division. So if he gets Ignacio down in that first round, I'm going to be sweating bullets. But I just feel like Ignacio is the more well-rounded, better mixed martial artist. And if he can get out of that first round, I think he does take over. I'm big on Bahamondes. Even though I'm big on Torres too, I love this fight. It should be on the main card, honestly. This should be up there instead of that OD fight, even though no disrespect to OD. And honestly, we'll talk about that, but my boy Lazy Boy has made me a fan. But I love this fight. Bilal is super high on Ignacio, and so is everybody who trains with Ignacio. And I'm high on him too, man. I like Torres. This is going to be the first time I've ever faded him. Didn't think I would, really haven't been looking forward to this day, but I got Ignacio on the money line. I told you guys on my last video I was going to do it. I was waiting to see if I could get a better line, and I got plus 115. That line is still there on BetMGM. So I just think he's the side, man. I think he's more well-rounded, and as long as he doesn't get finished in that first round, especially doesn't get taken down in that first round, we'll be good. Moving on. Next up, we got Irene Aldana taking on Norma Dumont. Like I said earlier, very rare that not very rare that I bet women's MMA, but when I do, it's usually a sizable underdog. But I got a slight plus money here, plus 110 on Norma Dumont. I like Irene on the feet. She's a good boxer, and her losses to really tough opponents, so I can't knock her there. But I do think, Norma Dumont, she's strong, she's got good fight IQ, and I liked, I'm not weighing this into my decision. I had already made the bet, but, even at the press conference, they were like, oh, are you going to push for the finish? Some people give you pushback for not getting finishes, and she's like, hey, man, fight IQ wins fights. I'll get a finish if it comes, but I know how to win fights. And I was like, oh, beautiful answer. As somebody who had money on her already, I was like, that is exactly what I want to hear. Do not let them try to trick you into going there and not fighting your fight. I know they'd love that at this Noche card, but I think Norma puts her up against the cage. Also, Irene does not check leg kicks. I think Norma's going to chip away at those legs. She's got a good jab. Put her up against the cage. She even mentioned cage work in her response to that, and I love it. So be the bigger, stronger, tougher girl. Even though Irene is pretty good in the clinch, I think Norma is just going to be too strong, too much, too big, and I think she's going to put Irene up against the cage, win some minutes there, chip away at the legs, land some good jabs, and stay safe, man. She doesn't get hit hard very often unless you're Megan Anderson. So give me Norma Dumont on the money line, plus 110. We move on to the next fight. And first fight on the main card, and man, Ronaldo Rodriguez, Lazy Boy, has been winning fans this week. He is based as hell, and I like the guy. I hate that I have to root against him here, but hey, at least then if I lose my bet, I won't be too sad because I do have a bet on OD, as you guys may know if you've been watching my content. And that line is still there. It's plus 140 now. I got plus 145. It's been working its way back to me. Maybe I'll end up getting reverse CLV'd by the time the fight happens. But hey, I like my bet. I think Ode, 10 UFC fights. This is a step up for Ronaldo, who's honestly got good pace, good pressure, pretty well-rounded everywhere, durable. But outside of that, man, I don't think skill-wise he's as good as Ode. Ode, the record salty, but he's experienced and he's fought the much higher level of competition. And yes, Ronaldo looks like he has. I do love the energy he's bringing, but honestly, I think Ode on the other side, he looked good on the scales. He looks confident. He sounds confident, and I think he gets it done, man. I think he's the more dangerous guy, and as long as he doesn't gas out, I think he's going to be the better fighter. He's going to win. He's just got more skills, and skills pay the bills. So give me Ode Osborne plus 145 on the money line, and we move on to a fight that I almost got around to a bet, but I haven't. This is Daniel Zellhuber taking on Esteban Ribovics, and I thought about a Ribovics money line, even though I do like Zellhuber a lot. I think he's very good, but I do think Ribovics, this line's a little wide. Esteban, got the submission upside. If he can get Zellhuber down, he's also got power in his hands and his kicks. He's got nasty kicks that he can mix up. Good striking, super dangerous everywhere. So, I can't knock anybody taking a dog shot on Esteban, because I do think if you're betting the money line, it's got to be on his side. I'm not trying to lay minus 200 against Ribovics at this point. I need to see more before I'd be willing to do that. I do really like both these guys. I think this is another fight that is just, this is a banger, man. I am super, super excited for this fight. I'm going to go with Zellhuber. I'm going to go with him to win by decision, but I am not going to bet this fight, I don't think. Ribovics inside the distance, plus 550 is interesting because I don't think he wins a decision. I think Zellhuber's volume, and especially as the fight goes on, will win minutes. I think Ribovics, if he wins, is probably a finish. I think that's pretty much his money line. So tempted to play the plus 550 inside the distance, but nothing yet. Moving on to the next fight, the people's main event, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. I've broken this down a couple times. I'm interested in it. I wish I could have got that same line on Lopez by decision. It was insane. It was like 400 or 500 the first time they booked, because everybody looks at Lopez as just like straight, he's going to finish you if he wins. But, I actually have a little bit of a hot take on this one. I bet the fight goes the distance. Plus 105, I guess, is not as much of a hot take as it was the first time, man. People were calling me crazy for that last time. But both guys are tough. Both are durable. Both don't want to end up on the wrong end of that UFC Noche highlight reel for the rest of their careers. I think as long as Lopez doesn't starch him early, this is going to go 15. Obviously, both are submission threats, but I think the grappling, the jiu-jitsu should cancel itself out. They both got good submission defense. So give me Lopez to win by decision, and we'll move on. I do have the decision bet plus 105. Moving on to the first title fight, the co-main event, we got the third matchup between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. I've always been a big Shevchenko guy. I think she's one of the, obviously, I don't think anything. She is one of the GOATs of women MMA. But, she's been the minute winner in these fights, at least in most people's eyes. Alexa Grasso's been the moment winner. And she is, going up in her career, whereas Valentina, you could argue, might be on the downslope. At the end of the day, man, I think this is a super competitive, super close fight. I hope the worst part about it, even though I'm a big Valentina fan, is if she wins this, we might get a fourth one. And my God, the division needs to move on a little bit. In either way, I'm cool with it, but we don't want a fourth one. I think this is going to be close, man. I think Alexa probably has more of the finish upside unless Valentina can get to like a crucifix or, a dominant position on top. Most likely, I think this goes 25, but I don't hate people taking big plus money shots on, maybe an Alexa finish or an under, even though I don't think the under is that great. It is 5 rounds, though, and both, if Valentina can get a good dominant position on top or Alexa can... I don't think the submission happens again, but, if she can catch her, she hurt her bad in that second fight. But I'm going to lean Alexa Grasso to win the fight by decision. But, I think the line's pretty much where it should be. Moving on to the main event, man. We got Sean O'Malley taking on Merab Dvalishvili. And this is as good as MMA gets, man. You got a classic striker versus grappler. Merab, somebody I've never ever wanted to bet against. And O'Malley, somebody who, maybe I didn't see getting to this point 5 years ago, but hey, man, he's impressed me, he's impressed everybody, and he's proven that he belongs up here. And if you're still one of these guys who thinks, oh man, he's not that good, oh, the UFC paved the way, maybe they did a little bit early on, but at this point, man, you gotta just accept the fact that he's very good, and just because he's flashy and he's got a crazy look that you might not like, dude, he's very skilled, he's very dangerous, and I think this is a close fight, man. It might not look close either way, whoever ends up winning, but I think on paper, man, this is just peak MMA, man. It's such a great fight. It's probably my favorite division in MMA, not just the UFC. Merab's got an insane pace. He's got an insane cardio, gas tank, but Sean is a sniper, man. So we've seen Merab hit, we've seen him hurt. It's tough to pick against Merab, but I do think if you got plus money on the champ, Sean O'Malley, before that he turned into the favorite. You did your job. Anytime you get the champ at plus money, it's hard to knock. And I do think 25 minutes is a long time to not get sniped by Sean. And Merab's only finished one guy, and it was, Moraes, who at that point of his career was getting finished by everybody. And don't forget, he almost finished Merab. So I'm going to say Sean lands that sniper shot, knocks Merab out, but also wouldn't be surprised if he won a decision. I think both fighters are very capable of winning a decision. Even though I say that, I don't hate the under because both also have a finish potential, even though Merab only has one finish. It is 25 minutes, which does suit somebody like him with a crazy gas tank. Maybe Sean gets tired in the later rounds, but most likely, I think if Merab wins this by decision, and I'm going to say Sean gets the knockout, but I think I'm just going to watch this as a fan, man. I'm a big fan of this fight, but I ever so slightly lean with the and still champion, Sean O'Malley. So, real quick rundown. We got Bahamondes plus 115, Dumont plus 110, Odie Osborne plus 145, and Ortega versus Lopez goes to decision plus 105. Some bets I have written down but I haven't played. Rosa versus Aori, fight goes the distance plus 400. I'm kind of off that at that point, but it was something I wrote down early in the week. Schwartz inside the distance 5-1. Torres, if he is the win, I'm more worried about the sub than the knockout. Sub plus 500 is interesting. Ribovics inside the distance plus 550, also interesting. Alexa Grasso split decision plus 750. Meant to touch on that, but I think that's very live. Yasmin versus Souza, like I said, doesn't go to decision plus 200. Interesting. Haven't played those ones yet. Don't have a ton of bets, but I like to pick my spots. There's only 10 fights. I'm super into this fight as a fan, but not a whole lot of spots sticking out. 4 isn't a ton for me, but you guys know I try to pick my spots and not force plays on every fight. I'm really into this card, man. I hope you are too. I hope you enjoy the fights. Like the video, comment, let me know what you're thinking as far as bets, as far as picks, especially that main event. I want to know what you think. Like the video, comment, subscribe, post notifications. I appreciate you. Enjoy the fights. I will catch you then for a fight companion. Peace.